from Renaissance-style chateaux, grand country estates, architectural glass masterpieces.
These are the remarkable homes
My goodness.
and magnificent landmarks
One day, my son, all this will be yours.
at the very heart of Britain's spectacular history.
Oh, this is stepping back in time.
Join me and a host of celebrities
I can't believe people lived here.
with a passion for the past
It really is a little hidden treasure, isn't it?
as we travel the length and breadth of the nation
This is really exciting.
with unparalleled behind-the-scenes access.
Would you like to see some of his speeches that I brought from the archive in
No,
Cambridge?
not yes. From the highest heights, there's a heck of a view from up here, to the deepest depths. We've got stalactites here.
We'll uncover the secrets
Here he is.
Oh,
still hidden within these breathtaking buildings.
it's a good job I'm slim. These are the places that nobody else gets to see.
And explore the riches
It's so big, it's so intricate, it's so beautiful.
and treasures of one of our most loved institutions. Welcome to the secrets of the National Trust. The grand Petworth House in West Sussex is no ordinary stately mansion, because within these walls is one of the finest collections of art and sculpture on display at any country house anywhere in the UK.
So good, it's seen Petworth labelled the House of Art.
This was all possible because of its visionary owner, George Wyndham, the third Earl of Egremont, whose relationship with artist JMW Turner would usher in Petworth's golden age.
The most unconventional of aristocrats, he turned his house into a great inn, filling it with artists, an eclectic mix of guests, and a host of mistresses. He's rumoured to have fathered more than 40 children.
I'll be going behind the scenes to reveal the gossip behind the Earl's many mistresses,
The man was a scoundrel.
digging deep to find the hidden brilliance behind one of these affairs.
So it's not on display?
So this is really secret.
Yes.
As I get hands-on
Steady as she goes.
I'm very scared.
and under the surface
I'm in a scene which is a couple of hundred years old.
It's magical, isn't it?
to reveal just why Petworth House remains the artistic jewel in the National Trust crown,
This is a masterpiece, isn't it?
and how it was all made possible by the most remarkable of aristocrats. Also coming up, Peter Purvis is on a Chichester Canal exploring one of the enterprising Earl's more challenging schemes.
What kind of loss was the Earl experiencing?
Somewhere around £4 or £5 million.
Oh, my goodness.
And Jenny Bond is in Devon,
Wow.
dropping into the home of two inspirational women
I'm fascinated by the Grand Tour.
who helped rewrite the 18th century rulebook.
Ooh, bold and impertinent maids. Oh, my goodness.
But in West Sussex, it was the combination of Petworth's creatively charged atmosphere, together with the third Earl's patronage, that would result in some of the world's greatest masterpieces being produced under this roof.
Oh, an imposing hallway. This is where you want to greet your guests, isn't it?
To find out more about the man and Petworth's fascinating story, I'm being joined by the Trust's Andrew Laux in the Marble Hall.
What was this place like in the third Earl's time? What did it felt like?
Well, it was a very sociable place, but also quite a cultured place as well, with so many artists and so on staying here. It must have been a very lively atmosphere.
So who's the biggest name?
Well, we had Constable staying here, but probably the artist who is most closely associated with the house is Turner, who came many times.
Joseph Mallord William Turner, the big one, JMW.
That's him, absolutely.
So are his paintings still here?
There are 20 oil paintings by him here.
20 Turners in one house?
It's the largest collection of Turners to be found outside of a national museum.
I need to see one. Or more.
Well, one of them actually hangs in part of the house where the current Lord Egremont and his family still continue to live.
So that's the private bit?
Absolutely.
We allowed in?
Yes.
Turner is widely recognised as the greatest landscape painter of all time, a child prodigy who first came to Petworth in 1809, aged 34. Turner and the third Earl would enjoy a lifelong relationship, while the artist would be forever inspired by the house and its surrounding landscape. The chance for a secret viewing of this master's work is too good to pass up.
It's always such a great treat to be allowed into the private bit that's actually lived in. And this is it. This is the painting of Turner.
So this is Turner's famous view of the house from across the lake. With its title, Dewy Morning, it shows the house early one morning with the sunrise in the distance and the dew just lifting from the house at the west front.
You almost feel as though you're in the painting, don't you? And you've got this translucent, slightly pale salmon pink tinted sky. You can feel the sun beginning to burn its way through the cloud.
And this is what really excited the critics when it was exhibited at the Royal Academy in 1810. The critical press were very much appreciative of Turner's rendition of light, and particularly the way in which he's captured this moment in the morning.
And that view is the same today as it was then?
Church spire has gone. In fact, it wasn't there when Turner painted it. Turner painted it during a subsequent visit. It's absolutely possible to go out and see that view exactly as Turner captured this moment in the morning.
Can we go and have a look?
Yeah, we need to get onto the lake, but to do that, we'd need to go to the boathouse.
And we can get on the boat?
Yes.
I'm up for that.
OK, let's do it.
The park at Petworth, which was so beloved of Turner, was installed by the second Earl and was the creation of groundbreaking landscape architect Capability Brown. From the mansion's palatial west front, he transformed the great expanse of grass into slopes that rolled towards the serpentine lake in the middle distance, creating the illusion that the park keeps unfolding for miles.
So, would this have been the boathouse that was here when Turner was here?
Yes, it was built by the third Earl in the late 18th century.
Your own stone-built boathouse on your own lake. Oh, gosh. This is really exciting.
Yeah, so this is definitely not on the visitor route. This is very special access into here.
Right, and we've got to get in here. Now, this is perilous. Right, who's rowing?
How are your skills?
How are yours?
Probably not as good as yours.
Oh, gosh, don't say that. Well, if you get in the back, we appear to be going into the boathouse. Right, we're going to push ourselves out now. OK? Yeah.
Not the most graceful of exits, I'll accept. But once you're on the water, you can see why Turner was so inspired by this magnificent view.
So I presume we're going up there.
We're looking for the dewy morning view.
Yeah. So he would have come out here on his boat.
Yeah. Fishing.
Fishing. Wonderful. Tell me if I need to go left or right. You have to point.
A little bit to your right.
I need to go to my
A little
right.
bit to your right.
You're the cox, you see.
That's it. We got it.
Look at that.
Yeah, we got it.
My goodness me. So Turner would have come out on this lake to paint the house?
Well, he would have come out here to get some views of the house.
Yeah.
All of the painting was done in his studio. But what we know about Turner is he was a great fisherman. And he absolutely fished on this lake, as did some of the other artists. But what you can see in Turner's painting is fishing boats taking fish out of the lake in nets. And they were, of course, intended for consumption in the house.
It's rather wonderful to feel that I'm sitting in a boat almost exactly on the spot where Turner would have sat, perhaps to make sketches, certainly to get inspiration of Petworth. And I'm in a scene which is, you know, a couple of 100 years old.
It's magical, isn't it?
Yeah.
And Turner was an oarsman. Rowing around here would be no problem to him.
Rather better than I am, probably.
Well, I don't know about that. You're doing pretty well.
I'm going to go for a pull now. I'm going to have a Turner moment, see if I can keep up with the man.
Watch out.
Go to the bank.
We don't get grounded.
Petworth House found fame across the 18th and 19th century when the third Earl of Egremont bucked usual aristocratic traditions with his generous patronage of modern British art.
But then Lord Egremont was a man who made his own rules, fathering a reputed 43 children and, remarkably, having many of them living here with him.
I'm meeting family archivist Alison McCann, who can shed some light on this most unusual of domestic arrangements and the secret science behind its success.
Such a lovely room, this. I mean, Alison, what was the atmosphere like here in the time of the third Earl?
I think it was absolutely packed with people. There were the family, the children, the grandchildren, the nephews, the nieces, visitors, and of course all the artists who also brought their families.
Must have been seething.
Some people loved it, they thought it was wonderful, and some people really thought they didn't want to mix with the artists and people like that.
But it seemed to work, the arrangement, certainly for the Earl.
Yes, well, I think he was responsible for the fact that it did work.
The Lord's relaxed approach to housekeeping also attracted its fair share of stately gossip.
Nothing will convince Lady Spencer that Lord Egremont has not 43 children who all live in the house with him and their respective mothers and make scenes worthy of Billingsgate or a madhouse. 43?
I can't get that many. I found 16.
Oh, by how many mothers?
9.
But who were all these mistresses I hear about?
There was the Italian opera singer he picked up on the grand tour in Italy. He took her as far as Paris, where he dropped her, because he'd met Mademoiselle Doutet, very well-known French courtesan. There is Lady Melbourne, of course, whose mistress he was, and he probably fathered 3 of her children at least, possibly 4.
Is that Lord Melbourne's, Lady Melbourne?
Yes.
Right.
The mother of the Prime Minister. The Prime Minister is Egremont's son.
Oh, it
Almost
gets
certainly.
so cold. The man was a scoundrel.
No, it's just the way they behaved at the time.
I wonder if I'd get away with that.
Although the third Earl was famous for his numerous flirtations, there was one lady who held a special place in his heart.
Who was the resident mistress?
This is Elizabeth Ilive, who lived here with her children by the Earl.
What was so special about Elizabeth?
I think she was probably the most interesting of his mistresses. She was obviously very intelligent.
So he fell in love with her mind?
Yes, I'm sure he did.
Did he never marry?
Yes, eventually, after 8 children, he married Elizabeth Ilive.
Why did he choose to marry her?
She was interested in art, and they had that in common. She was interested in science, and we've actually got the evidence of some of her scientific activities up in the attic, if you'd like to see it.
Really?
Yeah.
Come on. Secret places.
Strictly out of bounds to the public, in the private side of the house, Petworth's attic rooms are full of hidden items, which reveal Elizabeth's brilliant mind.
There's not many people come up here.
No.
Gosh, rock samples, glass cases. Oh, gosh. So what are these?
This is Elizabeth Ilive's laboratory equipment.
All stored up here in the attic?
Yes, it's not on display.
So this is really secret?
Yes.
What's this? Some kind of pump there.
Air pump.
Right.
I mean, things like this guinea and feather apparatus,
What does
where
that do?
you put a guinea on one of the little handles, a feather on the other. You took the air out, and then you let them fall, and they both came down at the same speed because it was a vacuum.
Oh. So was it really just party tricks then for her, that she was still after dinner guests?
Oh, no, she was very practical as well. If you look in the book there, you'll see what else she invented.
The Society of Arts. What have we got here? The crossbar lever.
Yes, they were doing a lot of work, lowering the lawn out there and finding these huge stones they had to move.
So this is what she invented?
Yes, because she watched the workmen all trying to stand on the end of a long piece of wood to lever the stone up. So she very practically put...
The appliance of science to
Yes.
what
Yes.
made that. The rock is on here, the men stand on there and pull on that, so they're much more secure, and up this comes.
Yes.
And she got a silver medal?
Yes, and there's the medal.
Well, I never. Gosh, to Mrs. Wyndham. 1796, that's the year after, so she sends this into the Society of Arts. They're impressed. They give her a medal.
Yes.
Alison, how unusual is this for a woman in the 1790s?
Very unusual, because she got her medal from the mechanics section.
Good for her.
Yes, absolutely.
So the Turner paintings fed the minds of the people inside, but the crossbar lever saved the backs of the workers outside.
Yes, she actually says it was much appreciated by the workmen.
I bet it was. Did the marriage last?
Unfortunately, no.
Oh.
Only a couple of years, and then they actually separated.
The reason why it failed?
She said that he was unfaithful to her and with people around her. But was he likely to change the habits of a lifetime?
No, unlikely, but then as somebody said famously in the 20th century, you marry the mistress, you create a vacancy. Oh, dear.
The third Earl might not have been renowned for his marital fidelity, but he's rightly celebrated for his devotion to funding the arts. Oz Clarke is in Oxford on the trail of another generous benefactor, one from much humbler origins, who gave away £700 million in today's money into health and medical research.
I'm here to rediscover one of Britain's greatest philanthropists, someone who spent a lifetime ploughing his vast fortune into causes close to his heart. Now, he was a gifted mechanic, he was a great innovator, and he was hugely famous in his own lifetime. But now, he's in danger of being forgotten.
I'm talking about William Morris, known later as Lord Nuffield, the car designer whose original name decorates this beauty I'm driving today. I'm dropping in on his former home to meet National Trust volunteer John Owen.
Welcome to Nuffield Place.
Thank you very much.
To learn more about the man behind the machine.
I remember these Morris miners from when I was a kid.
People of my generation, of course, will have learned to drive on one of those.
What was so special about it, though?
They looked good, they drove easily, and, of course, they were priced at the middleman market.
It made its maker a vast fortune.
That's right. He was certainly the 10th richest man in the world.
Not bad for a man who left school at 14 and started his working life as an apprentice at his local cycle works. Despite amassing huge wealth and gaining a title along the way, Lord Nuffield wasn't a man for pomp and ceremony, preferring to give vast sums of money away to help others, as House Steward Joanna Gamester explains.
Hello.
Hello, I'm Oz.
I'm Joanna, pleased to meet you.
I am amazed at how modestly Morris seems to have lived. It's reflected everywhere in the house. I mean, coming into this bedroom, it does not look like the bedroom of a very wealthy man.
His taste was for simplicity and for not spending money on himself. You can see how simple the bed is. He's pushed it up against the fireplace, using that as a sort of bedhead. And above the bed, he's rigged up his own lamp.
It's upside down.
Yes, that's right. But obviously that worked well for the way he wanted the light to shine on his book. Another thing that tells you about his frugality is the carpet. If I lift this, you'll see more than we usually show, because we usually protect it, as it's extremely precious and unique.
So sort of beige grey.
Yes, well, the colour has faded over the years, but it was actually a sort of gold colour, which was often used in motor cars.
Thank goodness there's a bit of gold around.
If I open these doors here, you will see, surprisingly, this is Lord Nuffield's little workshop.
It's every schoolboy's dream workshop.
He would mend his clocks, and also he mended his own shoes. There's a shoe last.
Multi-millionaire, mending his own shoes with stick-on rubber soles.
Yes.
Amazing.
Despite being so thrifty in his personal life, Lord Nuffield was one of the world's most generous men. Over the years, he gave away more than £30 million, the equivalent of 700 million in today's money, with the majority of the cash going into medical research and healthcare.
Now, I know that William Morris gave an enormous amount of his fortune to medical projects. What sort of projects?
He gave money to hospitals. He started small with local Oxfordshire hospitals, and then later larger national hospitals. And there are Nuffield hospitals and wards all over the country. This is something else that he gave money for, which helped to save lives. An iron lung.
Good gracious, my dad was a chest physician. He used to talk about these.
These incredible contraptions, designed to help patients breathe when their lungs had failed, were considered state-of-the-art in their day.
Lord Nuffield heard a story about a little boy who died of polio because an iron lung couldn't be got to him in time. He knew car factories can pretty well make anything, so he decided that he would get his factory workers to make them. He made 5,000 or so altogether, and you can tell they were made in the car factory because there's a little clue. They've got car handles on the portholes.
That is amazing.
I feel as if I've been granted an extraordinary insight into the life of an unsung hero.
Lord Nuffield, he has to be regarded as possibly the biggest philanthropist that the UK's ever seen. Now, he may not be a household name nowadays, but so many of us know the name Nuffield in association with hospitals or with healthcare or education.
So despite the generous genius no longer being with us, his legacy lives on.
While Lord Nuffield was driven by more scientific desires, back at Petworth House, the third Earl of Egremont was keen to use his resources to support his more creative passions.
Petworth House was home to the unconventional aristocrat George Wyndham, 3rd Earl of Egremont, who lived an extraordinary life.
He was a generous patron of British art, and this saw him open his doors to the artists themselves.
I'm sitting in a boat where Turner would have sat to get inspiration of Petworth.
It's magical, isn't it?
Yeah.
And line its walls with the great works they produced. I'm back with the Trust's Andrew Laux, who's taking me to the North Gallery that remains as glorious as it was in its early 19th century heyday.
Goodness me. This isn't an art gallery. It's a museum. Sculpture everywhere, paintings everywhere. This is something else.
It's extremely unusual. This was the very first art gallery anywhere to combine paintings and sculpture, but also modern work with historic work.
This must be a collection of tremendous value.
Oh, hugely. Not only because of the third and second Earls of Egremont. The family at Petworth has been collecting works of art since the 17th century.
Is there one work above all others that you think is the sort of prize, in a way, of Petworth's collection?
Well, in terms of the third Earl of Egremont, there's one work of art which he regarded as his most important commission, and you can't miss it.
Go on.
It's one of the biggest things in here. It's this colossal sculpture.
Wow.
This magnificent work, commissioned by the third Earl in 1817, was created by John Flaxman, a leading figure in European neoclassicism. It took 9 years to complete, but its splendour remains timeless.
It's only when you get close up to it you realise the magnitude. It's massive. Who is it?
So what we're looking at is a subject which comes from Milton, from Paradise Lost, and it's St. Michael triumphing over Satan, making him feel pain for the first time.
Never ceases to amaze me when you look at a really good marble sculpture, and Flaxman was one of the best. The anatomy is perfect, isn't it?
It's brilliant. It's all carved from one single piece of marble as well, which is just extraordinary.
And we've got letters here. What are they?
So these are very important letters which we've sourced, which were very kindly supplied by the Somerset Records Office.
Right, so we don't see these very often.
No. These letters from Lord Egremont to the sculptor Flaxman, which really record the process of the way in which this sculpture developed, because this was very much a collaborative piece. The third Earl was very clear that he wanted a capital figure of Satan based on Raphael's painting of St. Michael and Satan, which is now in the Louvre.
So he wasn't saying, oh, just do me this, he was hands-on, saying what he wanted?
Yes, I mean, these letters suggest, really, he didn't leave Flaxman alone.
Oh, man. Dear sir, I've been thinking a good deal about the Archangel. I went to see him the day before I left London. The character of the action of Michael ought, I think, to be like a falcon, descending with his prey from the air, not like a man who had overpowered another from ground. So he wants Michael to be almost flying down there to Satan, doesn't he?
Very dynamically.
Astonishing. I love the end of the letter. Faithfully yours, etc., Egremont. I hope Mrs. Flaxman's well, and you also. He's not just paying for a great work, he's inspiring it as well. And actually, Flaxman must have felt that at least this was a patron who cared.
Definitely. This was a typical example of the third Earl and his relationship with artists and getting the best out of them.
Flaxman's work is testament to the unique partnership between artist and patron.
There is no doubting. I mean, this is a masterpiece, isn't it?
It is.
And the third Earl would be equally hands-on when it came to the hundreds of paintings he would amass in Petworth House. Their appreciation became a lifelong preoccupation.
Gosh. The thing about him, then, he wasn't just an avid collector. He was quite particular about how his paintings were displayed as well.
Absolutely that. He was a curator in many ways.
And these books, do they show where everything went?
Well, these are very important estate record books, which aren't on permanent display. They actually come from the family's private archive, but they're a very important record of the kind of activity that went on in the third Earl's lifetime.
Wow. Well, this is 1825, April the 30th, getting ready and fixing fillets to hang pictures in the square dining room. Well, this is the square dining room, so This is where they were doing the fillets on the 30th of April, 1825.
Absolutely. And then when you get into the 1830s, it goes even busier.
Because more stuff's coming in there all the time.
Absolutely. The North Gallery is fully built by then. So August the 1st, 1834, taking down and rehanging pictures. August the 8th.
Taking down, rehanging pictures. Also, taking down... So every week...
Every week.
No, I think we'll have that one over there. No, I don't. It was better where it...
Every week seems to have begun with taking down and rehanging pictures.
Every single week. Looking at this, presumably you're still doing it today. It's not preserved in aspect, this gallery, then?
No, absolutely. We lend pictures to exhibitions and we redisplay our collection from time to time. We're about to rehang one of our paintings in this room.
Really? Can I see what you're doing?
If you can give us a hand.
You trust me. I wouldn't. Big mistake. So is she through here?
Through here.
Right. Ah, it's the eventual mistress of the house.
Elizabeth Ilive.
So,
we need our special gloves.
Oh, God. Purple gloves. So she's going above the door in the square dining room?
That's where she's going, yes.
She's very heavy?
She's not too bad. She's a little bit delicate, though.
Oh, don't you very trusting.
There are little hooks on the back which are quite good to grab hold of. Yeah. So that's not too bad, is it?
Don't drop it, Alan. Don't drop it.
No, don't drop it.
It's all right, Elizabeth. You're safe with me, I think.
Steady as she goes.
It's fearsome. I'm very scared. It's all right, dear. We'll soon have you there. The door. Don't drop it now. You're looking very expectantly. I'm not a little worried. On there. Wait, so she's going right up there in that hole there?
Yes.
The key, presumably, is do it slowly.
Slowly and carefully.
Yeah, well, as it's slow and careful, I'll let you do that. Elizabeth, that you're in a safe pair of hands. OK, all right. Have fun. See you later.
Thanks for your help.
Lord Egremont's ledger offers us an invaluable insight into how these incredible works of art were cared for back in the 18th and 19th centuries, and although today's method of archiving and displaying has a much more modern twist, with scaffold, ropes, pulleys and the rest, I'm willing to bet the same love and attention was used back then too. Either way, the result still remains a breathtaking display. Lord Egremont's passion for art was influenced by the grand tour he would take as a young man, where he'd have been inspired by the wonders of Italian art and culture. Jenny Bond has trekked to South Devon to discover more about two female adventurers who embraced a grand tour of their own, a journey unheard of for women at that time.
These pioneers were the trailblazing cousins Jane and Mary Parmenter. They set off on an inspirational journey across Europe, which ended up taking nearly 10 years. On the way, they collected all sorts of paintings and artifacts, which they brought back here to show off in their extraordinary and charming home.
I'm meeting the Trust's Emma Kay at A La Ronde near Exmouth.
Hello. How nice to meet you.
Hello, Jenny.
Hi.
Lovely to meet you.
What a panorama, and what a house. I absolutely love it, and I haven't even been in yet. And how come the cousins decided to make such an unusual building?
The cousins were inspired by some of the places they visited on their grand tour, namely Ravenna, and they visited a basilica there.
They sound just my sort of women. Tell me a bit more about them.
They were really forward-thinking, intrepid, first women to climb Montbui in the Alps, in fact.
Well, it's a great story. I'm longing to see inside the house. Would you show me around?
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to.
Jane and Mary built their home to display the amazing artifacts gathered on their remarkable adventures.
Wow, this is extraordinary.
Which began in France.
I'm fascinated by this grand tour they went on for nearly 10 years.
Yeah, so Jane did keep a really meticulous travel journal. It gives a lovely idea of the standards of Jane and Mary, describing some of the places they stayed. Quite a nice little extract here. The first few days on their trip to Paris. Described as a very dirty inn indeed. The staircase shaking, the maids bold and impertinent, the treatment sparing and the charge extravagant.
Ooh, bold and impertinent maids. Oh my goodness. And there's other things here that they brought back from their travels.
We're really fortunate we have lots of that in the collection still today.
Only a small part of Jane's diary survives. It details just the first 6 weeks of their travels. So little is known of these exceptional explorers, with only a miniature of Mary and a silhouette of Jane in existence.
Well, I'd like to have known more, but that's at least a start.
The cousins' collection is the only way to solve the mystery of where they visited.
We have these beautiful shell pictures here.
Okay.
This one is actually a souvenir picture which we believe Jane and Mary Parminter would have brought back from their grand tour from an island called Isola Bella on Lake Maggiore in northern Italy.
Ah, I see. What am I looking at then?
A palace on the island, and within the palace there's a shell grotto.
To me that could be anywhere. How do you know it's Isola Bella?
Fortunately, it's actually written on the back.
Oh,
would you like to see?
Yeah, I'd love to, thanks. Who do you think wrote it?
So we think it would have been Mary Parminter.
Oh yes, her own writing. Isola Bella.
I feel as if I'm on a treasure trail, with each object revealing another secret.
So we know they went to northern Italy, but we've also got clues that they went to southern Italy because of the contents of this rather special table.
I love the secrecy of it.
As it's too fragile to be lifted often, a rare glimpse inside is a true treat.
In here, we find some fans.
So this is a fan that is hidden and inlaid in the lid.
And these fans were only available to buy if you had scaled Mount Vesuvius.
Is that right? so they did?
I'd like to think so.
It really is a little hidden treasure, isn't it?
I'm bowled over by Jane and Mary's globetrotting. Two women travelling this extensively during the 18th century was virtually unheard of.
And so, nearly a decade after they first set sail from Dover, Mary and Jane finally came home for good. But of course, they waded straight into another adventure, building à la ronde, inspired by their travels. And here it stands, an everlasting monument to two groundbreaking women and their epic grand tour.
The Earl of Egremont would return from his own grand tour with a similar lifelong passion for the arts, and he'd fill Petworth House with the finest works from the cream of contemporary British artists.
This set him apart from other noblemen who preferred to obsess over the great masters and antique sculpture. The third Earl of Egremont was famous for investing in his passion for art, but he also put money into forward-looking schemes centred around industry and agriculture.
Petworth's enterprising Earl was keen to cash in on any opportunities that would benefit these schemes. In Chichester, Peter Purvis is on a mission to uncover one of these potentially profitable projects and discovers the path to easy riches wasn't quite so simple to navigate.
By the 1800s, the Industrial Revolution was in full swing, and a frenzy of canal building was sweeping the nation. Essential for the transportation of goods and materials, these artificial waterways were the engineering endeavour of their day, and the Earl of Egremont, he wanted a piece of the action. Eager to cash in on the latest trends in business and agriculture, the Earl was keen to build a canal near Petworth. Morning, gentlemen.
Good morning, Peter.
Can I come aboard?
Yes, please
Thank
come
you.
aboard.
I'm joining Ian Milton from the Canal Trust to learn more. What have you done to the weather?
I know, it's always sunny in Chichester, except for today.
We're going to brave the grey skies and hit the Earl's Waterway, which was the last piece in a route linking Portsmouth with London. Canals were being built all over the country, so why was the Earl particularly concerned with this one?
The main reason was we were at war with France at the time, up to 1815. It was the Napoleonic Wars. Our ships were under threat in the Channel, and it was seen as a good idea to have an inland route from Portsmouth to London.
So this was a shortcut to avoid that?
This was a shortcut, yes, to a safe cut. The Earl put in £20,000. The total cost was about £126,000.
Yes.
So bearing in mind there were 268 others, he
was a major shareholder.
He was a major shareholder.
The costs spiralled, so the Earl borrowed £40,000 from the government. But it still took a total of 5 years until 1823 to complete the canal, where it hit stormy waters.
By the time they got around to finish building it, we were at peace with France again. So that major threat was gone.
So for the Earl, this was a bit of a blow.
It was. Sadly, he lost money on it.
What sort of turnover were they expecting to make out of this?
They were hoping to make £55,000 on the year, and they made 4. Oh. And in 1826, he had enough. He paid the debt back to the government, sold his shares, and left the rest of them to get on with it.
In terms of today's money, then, what kind of loss was the Earl experiencing there?
Well, somewhere around £4 or £5 million.
Oh, my goodness. So a major disaster.
Major disaster, yes.
In less than 20 years after opening, the last commercial barge travelled these waters, and the canal fell into disrepair. So after years of neglect, I must say that the canal looks in really good condition. What happened?
In the 1970s, a group of volunteers got together with the intention of restoring it all the way to the Chichester harbour. By 1992, and sufficient restoration had been done for us to start running a trip boat for the public.
And they've done such a great job that it looks almost as it does in a painting the third Earl commissioned from his friend, the artist William Turner, which is still on display in the carved room at Petworth House.
We'll take you up on top of the bridge there.
Yeah. As canal volunteer Andrew Gibson appreciates.
It was painted in 1828. 2 years earlier, the Earl of Egremont had to pay the government loan back. You would have thought that he would have been completely disillusioned with the canal, but the painting was done.
This is the spot?
Yes.
He took a few liberties, didn't he?
Yes, there was a bit of artistic licence. He had the sun setting in the north, he had the bell tower on the wrong side of the steeple, and he had a boat going down here which was far too big.
It's a very beautiful painting.
Very beautiful spot.
The Earl of Egremont's grand canal scheme may not have been plain sailing, but Turner certainly recognised its beauty. And this feat of engineering is still going strong 200 years later.
Although his attempts to cash in on the canal boom proved less than successful, the Earl's relationship with Turner was to prove much more profitable, and was responsible for placing Petworth House firmly on the map. This partnership is fondly remembered by the current Lady Egremont, who's taking me into the old library in the private side of the house that was used as a secret studio by the third Earl's favourite artist.
So this is the room in which Turner painted?
Yes, he felt so free here. He would have come and sort of improved his sketches and worked them up, possibly into oil pictures here.
Because the lights, wonderful, massive great window, so yes. You can see why this is almost sort of classic artist studio, isn't it, really?
Well, it's a north-east facing light.
What was this room like when you came?
One of the first things I thought that was important about this room was not to have it painted. And you can see it's very, very dingy, and people often ask me, why on earth don't you paint it? The point of not painting it is that you still get the sense that Turner might have only just left this room.
You must have about the best collection of Turners in the country here, right?
We have, and the fact that they're in the house. But we have got a couple of small ones here that, that belong to the family that are never shown to the public.
Oh, wonderful. Let's have a look. Oh, now these are very special.
They don't come out very often. They're in one of our private rooms, and they're in a series of Turner's sketches that he did of the house when he came in 1827, but they are very sensitive to light. But there's a very interesting family connection to this picture. Turner was having breakfast here in the white and gold room, and he spilt the cream jug over Mrs. Hazler's dress. Mrs. Hazler was Lord Egremont's niece, and she was wearing her best lilac dress, and Turner spilt the cream jug over her.
Crumbs.
So by way of making amends at lunchtime, he came down with these two sketches.
He said, I'm sorry about your dress, but have a sketch.
You can see this, she's mopping up cream of her blue dress.
How beautiful. Yes. And is this sketch off Petworth?
This is a very interesting one also, because this shows you the church spire, which is no longer at Petworth. It was taken down after the Second World War when a bomb fell and made the spire unstable. But this is, we can date Turner's time here to 1827, because that is Barry's spire under construction.
Charles
Barry, who built the spire on St Mary's Church. So we know exactly when that was painted.
Do you feel the presence of people like Turner here?
Yes, completely, very much so. I think the atmosphere of the house is very much the period of Lord Egremont and Turner, which was, it's called the Golden Age of Petworth.
It seems from talking to you that you're every bit as fond of Petworth as Turner was.
Yes, I absolutely am. I've been here for 40 years, and I feel I've put roots down here. So it's true, yes, absolutely I am, yes.
And the patronage goes on.
Yes.
Looking around the house, surrounded by these amazing works of art, it's obvious that the 19th century Lord Egremont created something unique and beautiful within these walls. Today, one can still feel the creatively charged atmosphere, the spirit of inspiration, and the presence of Turner passing through every corridor.
The third Earl died in 1837 after a glorious 75-year reign here at Petworth.
On the day of his funeral, all the shops in the town were shut and the locals lined the streets, while the many mourners, including Turner, followed the coffin on foot.
Lord Egremont was a man of vision and generosity, but above all, he'll be remembered as a maverick.
His was the golden age of the Grand House.
And the masterpieces he left behind here at Petworth remain as a tribute to this amazing man.
Next time, I'm at Chartwell, Sir Winston Churchill's family home.
I bet there's a trough down here where he walked up and down with the cigar.
Revealing his life behind closed doors.
Oh my goodness, a bow tie. Oh, do you know, I'm really disappointed because it's ready tied.
And passionate hobbies.
Never seen so many paintings by Churchill in one place.
And Dan Jones uncovers Britain's hidden defences built on strict orders from Churchill himself.
These tunnels are incredible. They just seem to go on for miles and miles and miles.